The first sound is a fork slipping off a plate and striking the marble floor. Mia Turner freezes as the restaurant noise fades into a low hum. Her hands tremble, but her voice is steady when she finally speaks. "I'm not paying for you anymore." Rick Slader stares at her like she's just set the table on fire. Linda's smile twitches, thin and sharp, as if holding the family together by force. 7 years of quiet exploitation crack all at once. Mia presses record on her phone inside her coat pocket. The red light blinks like a warning she should have given long ago. Rick leans forward, demanding, insisting, escalating with every breath. But Mia is already gone in her mind. Already choosing herself. Already stepping out of the trap she never saw forming. Tonight is the end of their control. And the beginning of everything they never expected. The blue glow of the aquarium wall ripples across the table as Mia tries to steady her breath. Rick flips the wine menu shut with a loud snap that makes nearby diners look over in annoyance. He leans back like a king waiting for tribute, tapping his fingers in a slow rhythm meant to intimidate. Linda adjusts her pearl necklace as if preparing for a performance she knows by heart. The waiter arrives with the bill, neat and precise, and places it between Mia and Rick. Rick pulls it toward himself without hesitation and signs his name in a practiced flourish. Then he slides the bill to Mia with 2 fingers, a gesture small enough to feel insulting. "That'll be $3,200 for the Cabo trip," he says, voice sweetened with false politeness. Mia feels a cold wave rise in her chest as she stares at the number circled in blue ink. Rick adds, "And don't forget the luggage fees this time," as if she's already agreed to everything. Linda chimes in with a sigh about family responsibility, her tone soft but dripping with expectation. Mia closes her eyes for a second and feels all 7 years pressed down like a weight. The surprise hotel charges, the emergency loans, the last-minute pleas for help she never refused. She thinks of her spreadsheet at home, the one she filled with every dollar she couldn't keep. $127,000 sacrificed to keep the peace that never existed. Mia opens her eyes and the restaurant lights feel suddenly too bright, too sharp, too revealing. She pushes the bill back across the table, slow and deliberate, like returning something stolen. "I'm not paying for this," she says, voice steadier than she expected. Rick blinks, startled, as if he misheard the most impossible word in his vocabulary. Linda stiffens, lips parting just enough to show her shock and brewing disappointment. Rick laughs once, a short harsh sound that doesn't reach his eyes. "Don't start," he murmurs, leaning forward until his shadow blocks the table's candlelight. "You always handle this, Mia. It's your turn, again." Mia feels her pulse pounding, but she shakes her head with a clarity that frightens even her. "No," she repeats, each letter crisp like snapping twigs under her shoes. Rick's voice raises, first in disbelief, then in accusation, then in ridicule meant to break her. But Mia isn't bending this time, and that terrifies him more than the refusal itself. She signals the waiter and asks to separate her meal from the rest of the bill. Rick sputters, demanding she stop making a scene, but she's already pulling her card out. The waiter, sensing a battle he wants no part in, quietly nods and takes the check. Linda whispers that Mia is embarrassing the family, but Mia feels strangely calm now. She stands before either of them, can grab her arm or her voice. Her chair's scrape echoes like a final verdict across the tile floor. She places her napkin down, smooth and precise, refusing to tremble anymore. Without looking back, Mia walks out of Blue Harbor, leaving them in stunned silence. For the first time in 7 years, the night air feels wide and open and entirely her own. Mia wakes to the vibrating buzz of her phone skittering across the nightstand. For a moment, she thinks it might be work, some early audit request or a system alert. But the screen is filled with missed calls from Linda, Rick, and numbers she doesn't recognize. The first voicemail begins with Linda's trembling sigh, the kind she uses before guilt settles in. "We're worried about you," Linda whispers, though the concern sounds rehearsed and hollow. Rick's voice slips in next, sharp and impatient, telling her to stop acting dramatic. Another voicemail follows where Rick switches tactics and calls her ungrateful for refusing dinner. Mia deletes none of them and lets the messages pile up like evidence she never planned to gather. By noon, the voicemails shift from pleading to blaming, from coaxing to outright threats. Rick accuses her of abandoning her family and warns she'll regret choosing the wrong side. Mia places her phone face down, but the buzzing keeps breaking through the silence anyway. She turns on her laptop and begins a new folder labeled Recordings, unsure why she feels driven to do it. That evening, she receives one voicemail that stops her breath mid-inhale. A pocket dial message, nearly 3 minutes long, filled with voices she knows too well. Rick speaks first, annoyed, asking Linda if the story sounds believable enough to convince outsiders. Linda replies that saying Mia is unstable has always worked in the past and will work again. Someone else, Amber, laughs and mentions using Mia's insurance for her cosmetic surgery consultation. Rick's tone darkens as he suggests raising the financial demands if Mia crawls back apologizing. Mia listens twice, then a third time, shocked at how casually they dismantle her humanity. She sets her phone down and feels an eerie stillness wash over her like settling dust. She opens her camera and begins recording a video diary, her voice soft but unwavering. She documents each voicemail, timestamp, and detail while her hands try to steady the lens. For the first time, she calls the legal hotline provided by her company's compliance team. The advisor explains the one-party consent rule and tells her the recordings are lawful evidence. Mia nods as if the person on the other end can see her, a small swell of control returning. Night falls again, and the phone continues buzzing with desperation she no longer feels responsible for. One message from Rick declares she, mentally unwell. Another insists they'll show up at her home if she doesn't respond by morning. Mia draws her curtains and double-checks the lock on her balcony door without rushing. She opens her notebook and begins mapping a timeline of every call since she left the restaurant. Color-coded lines trace patterns she had ignored for years, now painfully obvious and impossible to unsee. Her final recording of the night is short, but it steadies her heartbeat. She looks into the camera and says she is safe, calm, and fully aware of what is happening. Then she adds one more sentence she isn't sure she believes yet, but needs to hear aloud. This time, they won't get away with it. Mia logs into her online banking account and freezes at the first screen. 3 credit cards appear under her name she never applied for. 2 personal loans are listed with balances she did not authorize. Her stomach drops as she realizes the pattern is larger than she imagined. She opens a drawer and pulls out papers labeled family expenses and emergency loans. There are dozens of forms with signatures that look just like hers, but clearly are forged. She traces transactions, each one funneling money into accounts linked to Rick and Amber. Some payments are small, under $100, meant to go unnoticed. Others are massive, thousands shifted for luxury items or trips she never agreed to. Mia checks her tax documents and notices irregularities in her filings. IRS forms are missing pages, numbers are altered, and some entries are completely false. She feels the weight of years of silent manipulation pressing down on her chest. Then her phone buzzes with a message from Evan, Rick's youngest child. He writes cautiously, explaining he fears his father's behavior might attract IRS attention. Evan claims some tax documents are lost or intentionally misplaced by Rick. Mia senses urgency and decides she must compile everything into a comprehensive file. She starts labeling each document, screenshot, and voicemail with dates and explanations. Every fraudulent loan, credit charge, and forged signature is meticulously recorded. She organizes bank statements into a timeline, linking each transaction to family events. Mia reviews emails and texts, saving screenshots where Rick or Linda reference her finances. She notices subtle admissions, like casual jokes about borrowing Mia's money again. The pieces form a pattern: 7 years of financial exploitation and deceit. Evan calls again, asking if she is safe and offering to help collect evidence. Mia feels a small surge of relief, knowing someone inside the family is on her side. She updates her spreadsheet, cross-referencing every debt with the corresponding forged signature. Mia writes detailed notes on conversations, dates, and amounts, creating a full audit trail. She uploads the files to a secure cloud folder and sets strong passwords. Her phone continues to ring, but she ignores most calls, letting voicemail capture the chaos. Mia records a short video explaining the full extent of the fraud she has uncovered. She mentions the cards, loans, and tax irregularities, documenting her findings on camera. Evan suggests she seek legal advice immediately, reinforcing her decision to act. Mia contacts a lawyer specializing in financial fraud, scheduling a consultation. She prepares copies of every document, voicemail, and video for legal review. Each piece of evidence builds a clear story of Rick and Linda's deliberate exploitation. Mia feels a mixture of fear and determination as she plans her next steps. She knows exposing this fraud may fracture the family further, but she cannot stay silent. Late at night, she reviews her records again, confirming that every number matches. The fraudulent accounts, forged signatures, and manipulated documents are undeniable. Mia finally allows herself a brief moment to breathe, knowing the fight is only beginning. Her next step will be confrontation, armed with proof she can no longer ignore. For the first time, she feels empowered by the truth she has uncovered. Mia turns off her laptop and stares at the ceiling, imagining the reckoning to come. Rick doesn't react to Mia's evidence the way she expects. Instead, he starts a campaign to discredit her reputation everywhere she goes. He calls her company's HR, describing her as erratic and mentally unstable. The HR manager listens politely, but senses the story doesn't add up. Rick continues, contacting her landlord, insisting she is a danger to herself and others. He calls the gym where Mia trains, spreading rumors about violent outbursts. Friends start receiving calls, messages, even emails warning them to stay away. Rick frames Mia as paranoid, exaggerating minor arguments into imagined crises. Linda quietly supports him, offering her own accounts of Mia's supposed instability. Even Amber is dragged in, writing false statements to create a pattern of concern. Mia hears about the calls through friends and feels a mixture of anger and disbelief. She records each new attempt to tarnish her reputation, saving every voicemail and email. Rick recruits a family therapist they once trusted, convincing them to draft a false report. The report paints Mia as a danger, despite her calm and rational behavior. She sends the false report directly to her lawyer, knowing it will be dismissed later. HR calls Mia in for a private meeting, asking her side of the story carefully. Mia presents her evidence, including recordings, spreadsheets, and messages. HR confirms the situation appears to be harassment and advises Mia to pursue legal protection. She files a formal complaint and requests a restraining order against Rick and Linda. Meanwhile, Rick tries to escalate the rumors, posting on social media under fake accounts. He sends emails to neighbors, claiming Mia has been aggressive in the community. Even her closest friends begin to receive suspicious calls, questioning her sanity. Mia documents each attempt, noting times, dates, and what was said. She begins a timeline of harassment to show the pattern is deliberate and ongoing. Late one night, she records a call where Rick threatens to make her life unlivable. She captures every word, her phone safely tucked away in a drawer. Mia informs her lawyer about the escalating harassment and the false psychiatric report. The lawyer reassures her the evidence she has collected is more than enough. Rick's campaign of lies starts to feel frantic rather than calculated, revealing weakness. Mia blocks numbers and changes contact information to maintain some peace. She emails HR with a full summary of the harassment and requests additional protections. Linda attempts to meet Mia in person, claiming concern, but Mia refuses all contact. Mia records a final voicemail from Rick, in which he openly admits frustration. She knows now that they are panicking because their control is slipping. Each recording becomes a brick in the case she is quietly building. She reviews everything, confirming she has documented patterns, threats, and witnesses. Mia begins to understand the strategy. They want her silenced and isolated. Instead, she turns the harassment into evidence, reinforcing her position. She sleeps cautiously, but feels more empowered than she has in years. Rick and Linda's manipulation is unraveling, and Mia is finally prepared to fight. Every attempt to discredit her only strengthens her resolve to protect herself. Mia knows the next moves will require patience, courage, and meticulous planning. Rick and Linda escalate their tactics, moving from harassment to outright schemes. They begin drafting a threatening letter meant to appear as if Mia wrote it herself. The letter contains angry words, vague threats, and a handwriting style copied from Mia's notes. Their plan is to present it to the authorities as evidence of Mia's aggression. Amber offers suggestions on phrasing, ensuring the letter looks authentic. Rick rehearses explanations to witnesses who will back up the claim. They discuss creating a scene where Mia supposedly attacks Linda at home. They plan for Amber and other family members to act as corroborating witnesses. Mia, meanwhile, continues recording everything quietly, sensing something bigger is coming. One evening, Rick calls her phone while she is out, and she leaves it recording. He speaks openly, outlining their plan to frame her for threats and violence. Mia listens, stunned, as Rick casually admits he will fabricate witnesses to support the story. Linda chimes in, discussing how they will manipulate evidence and law enforcement. Amber laughs in the background, suggesting adjustments to the forged letter to make it more believable. Mia's hands shake, but she keeps the phone tucked in her pocket, recording each word. She knows this is the proof she has been waiting for, the key to exposing everything. After the call ends, she immediately contacts her lawyer to report the new threats. She transfers the recording, labeling it with the date, time, and participants involved. Mia begins planning her next steps, knowing she must act carefully to protect herself. She reviews previous voicemails and messages, adding them to the growing evidence file. Each recording, email, and note reinforces a clear pattern of manipulation and criminal intent. Mia drafts a timeline, showing how Rick and Linda have escalated from financial abuse to framing. She schedules a meeting with law enforcement, bringing her lawyer for support. Her lawyer confirms that the recording alone could be decisive in a criminal investigation. Mia prepares copies of her financial records, text messages, and call logs. She notes every falsified document, every credit card opened in her name, and every forged signature. The evidence paints a detailed picture of calculated schemes to defraud and intimidate her. Mia sends secure copies to her lawyer and ensures backup files are encrypted. She rehearses a concise explanation for the authorities, sticking strictly to documented facts. The day of the meeting, she brings everything in organized folders, ready to present clearly. Law enforcement listens to the recording and immediately recognizes admissions of intent. The forged letter is also shown, demonstrating the lengths Rick and Linda were willing to go. Witness statements, previously manipulated by the family, are now undermined by Mia's evidence. Mia remains calm, detailing the entire scheme from financial exploitation to attempts to frame her. Her lawyer emphasizes the importance of her composed demeanor and thorough documentation. By the end of the meeting, Investigators begin to take formal statements against Rick and Linda. Mia leaves confident, knowing she has finally turned the tables on the people who tried to destroy her. For the first time, she sees a clear path toward legal protection and justice. Every threat, every forged document, and every plan to frame her is now fully exposed. Mia feels a surge of empowerment, realizing the danger is now on the other side. She walks away knowing that Rick and Linda's control over her life has ended forever. Law enforcement begins by examining the forged letter in detail and comparing it to Mia's handwriting. Experts quickly confirm the letter is a fake, with inconsistencies in pressure, slant, and letter formation. Mia provides every voicemail, video diary, and recorded call she has collected over the past months. Financial documents, bank statements, and spreadsheets show a clear pattern of fraud and unauthorized accounts. IRS officials are contacted with evidence of manipulated tax filings and false claims. Evan submits supporting documents anonymously, confirming irregularities in his father's financial records. Investigators open cases for identity theft, tax fraud, and conspiracy to commit financial crimes. Rick and Linda are summoned for questioning, but maintain a facade of innocence. Mia's lawyer ensures she is fully protected during all interactions with authorities. Investigators cross-check all forged signatures against her verified documents and confirm falsification. The voicemail recordings reveal explicit admissions of planning to frame Mia for threats. Amber and other family members are questioned, revealing inconsistencies in their previous statements. The timeline Mia prepared allows authorities to track each fraudulent transaction with precision. Investigators begin to map the full extent of the Slader family's schemes. Mia remains calm, attending meetings only with her lawyer present, presenting evidence clearly. Authorities prepare warrants to seize records from bank accounts and digital storage. They interview neighbors and associates who had been contacted by Rick in attempts to spread rumors. All false allegations of violence and instability are proven baseless, supported by Mia's recordings. IRS agents review fraudulent loan applications and credit card accounts opened without her consent. Rick and Linda's manipulation and harassment become undeniable as documentation piles up. Investigators confront them with evidence of identity theft, tax fraud, and conspiracy to commit crimes. Family members who tried to participate in framing Mia are also scrutinized for complicity. Mia's attorney ensures the integrity of her evidence is maintained for potential court proceedings. As the investigation progresses, Rick and Linda's defenses begin to crumble under the weight of proof. Evan testifies to his father's fears regarding the IRS and confirms Mia's account of events. Authorities begin making arrests after gathering sufficient evidence of criminal activity. Rick and Linda are taken into custody, facing charges for identity theft, fraud, and conspiracy. The remaining children are left shocked, realizing the severity of their parents' actions. Evan decides to leave the family home, seeking distance from the toxic environment. Mia's evidence becomes a critical factor in ensuring justice is served against the Slader family. She continues to cooperate fully with investigators, providing any additional documents requested. Law enforcement secures all digital and physical records to prevent destruction or tampering. Mia watches as the family's control and influence finally dissolve under scrutiny. Her thorough documentation leaves no room for denial or manipulation. With Rick and Linda behind bars, Mia is free from years of harassment and exploitation. The authorities commend her diligence, noting her recordings and spreadsheets were instrumental. Mia begins to rebuild her life, feeling a profound sense of relief and empowerment. She understands the power of evidence and the importance of standing up for herself. For the first time in years, she experiences genuine peace, free from fear or coercion. Mia can finally plan her future, confident she has legal protection and the truth on her side. Her life is hers again, and the toxic influence of the Slader family is permanently removed. Mia steps into her apartment and breathes freely for the first time in years. The weight of fear and manipulation has finally lifted from her shoulders. She reviews her finances, seeing stability where once there was debt and theft. Friends reach out, offering support and relief at seeing her safe and empowered. Evan contacts her, the only family member who acted with honesty and courage. They talk about rebuilding trust, slowly reconnecting where the rest of the family failed. Mia makes plans for work, travel, and personal goals she had delayed for years. She reflects on what she has learned about boundaries and self-preservation. No one who harms her, no matter the blood relation, deserves control over her life. She deletes old contact numbers, blocks social media connections tied to the Sladers. Every step forward feels deliberate, a reclaiming of power once stolen. Mia journals daily, tracking progress and celebrating small victories along the way. She invests in herself, taking classes, reconnecting with hobbies, and meeting new people. Financial freedom becomes a symbol of her independence and resilience. At night, she sleeps without fear, no longer haunted by threats or manipulations. Mia understands fully that survival sometimes requires walking away from family. She embraces her freedom as a choice, not a consequence. Each day she grows stronger, more confident, and more self-assured. Her past with the Sladers becomes a story of triumph, not defeat. Mia looks ahead, ready to live life on her own terms, finally free.